Dun, dun, dun. Dandelion, quite a lot of it. I'll be eating that in a while. I had to end up picking a little bit too much grass when I went to grab one of them, and so I've had to sort through it and flick out the crap leaves and pick the bottom part of the stems off, which has probably got a little bit of dirt or whatever. They seem to be a bit of a darker colour when they get closer to the base of the plant, but anyway, I got myself a bunch more mayonnaise. Went to that magical shop that has all the cheap food and got some more mayonnaise, and I also got this, it's only $2 for that mayonnaise, Australian dollars. And I got some of this stuff too, a bit of French vinaigrette thingamajigler that I'll have with that. I've just got through 2 plates full of lamb chops as well. Yeah, right, and it's lucky you, pussy, didn't get through the bloomin' things. Oi, come on, bud. Be a nice pussy now. And there we go. To be honest, I'm halfway through it already. I thought I'd better film before I eat it all, because then there wouldn't be anything left to film. A little French vinaigrette on there that's pretty simple really. Water, sunflower oil, sugar and vinegar, or vinegar and then sugar, something like that. I think it's sugar then vinegar. Not many more ingredients after that. There might be a dash of salt or something. But I looked at the ingredients of that and thought, hell, I could make the stuff myself. I only paid $1 for it, so. For the dressing, paid absolutely nothing for the salad. Yeah, groovy. Now this is a real off-grid salad because where I get the free Wi-Fi, well, I tore it out of their lawn. Yeah. Yes, it's well washed. This particular channel, it was primarily an old Italian woman, Italian-American woman, showing how she lived in the Depression, or how her parents lived and what they used to cook, and how many dishes you can make out of potato and onion, or some mixture of onion and potato is unbelievable. And she got a job, finally in the Depression, as a young lass of about 17, 18 something, 19 maybe, and it was actually the factory that makes Twinkies. And on her way home from that factory, she would look at all the grass beside the sidewalks and cut out all the dandelion. Just to have a little pocket knife with her and cut it all out, and put it in a little bag or something that she had, and take the lot home, and they'd all have a big dandelion salad. The next time she went home, she'd go a different route and then get some more, and that was what went on for months, actually. Donate now. I can't afford a $3.50 McDonald's salad. No, honestly, the amount of stuff I got in that was probably about as big as a bloody $3.50 McDonald's salad anyway. So, yeah. I will say one thing about edible weeds. Those of you interested in it, don't just sort of splurge into it too quick with the edible weeds. I mean, that tasted bloody great. As good as any lettuce. But there's something that I tend to notice, like that, for instance, you know, is obviously dandelion. But there's 2 imposters that both have similar looking flowers and grow jagged leaves and all that sort of crap. You've got what in the States you call sow thistle, Here we call it milk thistle. It's the stuff that you break the stems off and it starts oozing out white sap. Most things with white sap in this world are poisonous, but there's a few exceptions, and that would be one of them. You can eat it, apparently, if you steam the leaves, but they tend to grow a hell of a lot taller, and the flowers are a lot smaller on them. And of course, the white sap pissing everywhere is a dead giveaway. There's another one that's like a real hard-looking version. It's got a very similar flower, but the stem's a little bit harder and the leaves are a little bit harder, and if you pluck the flower head off, it'll start oozing a little bit of white sap out of it. But it's just too hard. Like as in the leaves are too thick, the stem's too solid, you know, like too strong. And the dead giveaway with the dandelion is the leaves are paper thin. The leaves are a lot thinner than any other leaves you're going to come across. You know, whether it be blooming plum trees, they're probably, yeah, even a little bit thinner than lemon-scented verbena, but they're really thin. They're paper thin sort of a leaf. And when you've got that one, then you know you got the right one. But if you were just to take a look in one of these books that shows one shitty hand-drawn picture or one photo or even 2 or 3 photos or even 5 photos, you're still likely, your first time around, to get the wrong one. And you'll be eating this thing going, oh, this is shit. How do these people stomach it? How did Link eat a whole bunch just like that? Because you got the wrong one. That's how. Really what you need to do with these things is usually you might know or hear of the name or whatever. Type that name into Google and go and have a look in Wikipedia, because sure as eggs there'll be, you know, or you can type the name of what you think it is and then Wikipedia, and there'll be a Wikipedia article on it, sure as eggs, and you go and click on that Wikipedia article and just see the first photo or whatever and just have a read if it's what you think it is, and it might have a bit about edibility and whatnot in there and stuff like that, but you're really searching for the botanical name, and once you get the botanical name you can't be thrown off track, because there's some things that have got one name, and you know, one name applies to 3 different types of plants. On that, there's a thing called marshmallow they have in the Middle East, and like, I got some out of the pot the other day. There's none around here that I can see, but anyway, the proper marshmallow is a plant from the Middle East, and I believe the roots of it were boiled or simmered, or, you know, they basically peel the roots and boil them, and something comes out of them, and then they pluck the roots out and boil it down, and that's your marshmallow flavour that they used to make marshmallow candies out of before you got your spongy, foamy looking marshmallows. There's this other damn thing that my uncle used to call marshmallow. I have not been able to find it. I mean, it's all growing in my pots and stuff out here, but or was sprouting in some of the pots I've got the kale in and that. And I have no idea what it is. He used to call it marshmallow. It is 100% guaranteed bona fide not marshmallow, because no matter how much I searched for marshmallow, I couldn't find anything that looked like it. And yet he'd been calling it that for years, and he'd eaten it and everything like that, because he was sort of, you know, interested in edible weeds a bit. No. No, it wasn't marshmallow. It just wasn't. But if you got the botanical name, you can't be run off track. Once you've got that, do a Google Images search. You know, go into Google, click Images, and then type in your botanical name, or just cut and paste your botanical name. And then, don't just look at the first picture, look at a stack of them. And I'm talking like, look at 25 different pictures. And then you'll get a good idea, because some pictures might show it in Australia, some pictures might show it in Europe, some pictures might show it in America, some pictures will show it in a crappy climate in a crappy season, some will show it in a beautiful climate that's just right for that plant in a wonderful season on good quality soil, and they all look different. But once you've seen 25 different ones from 25 different angles, you really can't mistake them. And I'm not saying you can't, because you still will, but so many people are so enthused that they think they've found one, that they convince themselves they've found one, that they've found a copycat look-alike one, and then they end up eating one, you know, the sow thistle or the other blasted thing that looks like dandelion, but not the actual real dandelion itself. You know, it was sort of, they're just so wanting it to be it, because it looks something like it, and to the untrained eye, because they're so enthused, and it's really just enthusiasm that does it, then they go and eat the wrong thing. And it won't necessarily kill you. I mean, there's a few % of plants that will kill you, but more often than not, you won't get one that'll kill you, but all the same, it's likely to go right through you or make you shit yourself, because you might as well have eaten grass, because it's not really properly edible, and then your guts just, while it doesn't poison you, it doesn't really agree with your guts, and you'll find yourself shitting your guts out the next day. When you do get into edible weed stuff, it's a good idea to really make a go of trying to look at it and identify them for a few months or for one season before you go berserk and just start eating the first one you see. And by that way you can really start to pick, and then you may realise that one's an imposter and one isn't. And it takes a damn good eye, like, as I said, you know, with the dandelion and all that, the only real way to tell was the paper-thin leaves. But then also the sow thistle has the paper-thin leaves, but it's very tall, and the flowers are smaller, and it oozes the white pus. And that's the other one too, that I should mention, that I stuffed up on once before. I had this little thing, I've seen photos of this stuff, and heard about the stuff, and I thought, bingo, this is the right one. This is when I was a teenager, by the way. And I ate this stuff. It was actually in someone's paddock, a friend of mine down the road. And later come to realise that, no, the leaf of the one I was looking for was literally 8-fold the size of the one that I found in the paddock that I was certain was it. And the leaf was the right shape and everything, but it turned out, no, the real leaf is, you know, can be as long as 9 inches, maybe 6 inches, and this thing was like, oh shit, it was barely even an inch long. So, you know, that's the other one too, is to sort of look at the height of how high the plant grows, and that may sort of lead you off path. Wikipedia will really determine it, because they will have, it ranges from this size to this size. Whereas if you just look at some of these websites, they will say, I found it this size in northern Queensland. And northern Queensland is really too hot a climate for it, so then theirs grows like tiny. And yet down here, in the cooler climate, would be better. And if you read their one, you might say, no, there's no way it's this thing, because these don't grow this big. But in the cooler climate, yeah, they grow 3 times as high as that. And so it's a bit hard, but in all this, it's sort of just, you get to know. You get to know. And if you think there's, you know, something that looks similar to it, or you're not quite sure, just go look at more photos, and, you know, you work it out, or type in the name of the other thing, and have a look at the other thing a few times, you know, a bunch of times, and a bunch of photos of that, and then compare it to the other one you were looking at originally. Anyway, that's just a bit of advice on eating edible weeds, because it's all great to say, I'll work out edible weeds when the friggin' apocalypse comes, or when the, let's say something a bit more realistic, the US bonds markets collapse, and the US bonds start to look a little bit like Greek bonds, and well, nobody's buying, and well, you know, the fact of the matter is, since 1971, America's had a deficit year non-stop since 1971. Then the welfare system goes down. And that is not the time that you want to turn around and go, oh shit, now I'm going to eat edible weeds. No, you learn now, so that if there is a financial hiccup and the pension stops or your unemployment benefits stop or whatever for a couple of months, well, you're still eating, because you know what you're looking at. You're picking the right one, not the one that makes you shit your guts out. There we go. It's a kind of oxalis on the ground. We usually call that soursop. That's edible. I sort of got addicted to chewing the stems of it as a kid, and I don't really touch it, and I made a definite point of trying to poison it through this whole area. But it doesn't really seem to matter, because it continues to come up regardless of what you want to do. And that's all the green there, and all around there, it's all it there. Anyway, you know, it was getting out of control. The sheep don't eat it. It is now under control enough. And, you know, if I really want to eat it, hey, I've got some right there. But it's not going, it just went berserk all through here and was out in the paddock. And anyway, here's my old, what's his name? Charlotte. Now this one's darker than most, because when they are under a bit of stress, as this one is getting a little bit dry, and in very dense ground, they tend to go a bit purpley. It's, little broccoli heads, you know, little yellow. And here's the dead giveaway, the proper seed pods that you have for brassicas, whereas the imposter has this strange little thing that looks like a ball with a nose. And there's your real deal, and here's your imposter, right beside it. You know, and if you looked at a hand-drawn picture, could you tell the difference between that and that, or that and that? You probably couldn't. That's why I don't trust hand-drawn pictures where the two shits when it comes to edible weeds. There's another one there, obviously, going to seed as well. I don't know that all peas are edible or not, but I generally assume they are. And usually speaking, I have a bunch of peas out here too, and I mean bloody shitloads of peas. And I know the sheep do eat them. Here's more of this imposter one. That one's a bit battered. The leaves are way too furry, and yet it's right next to the real deal, which you're getting a bit dazzled by the sun there. It's a real deal down there too. Holy smackaroonies! Gee, yeah, that's a real deal too. That's, yeah, I've got enough going to seed. That one might end up in the pot before long. Oh yes. Yeah, little pea plants. It hasn't rained enough yet to really get the peas fired up, and to be honest, they taste like shit. But the sheep definitely eat them. Holy smoke! Some more out here. Cool, blimey, it's going good. I might actually leave them, to be honest, because I do want these to generate up some more, and when they're nice and healthy. This area is green because this is sort of where any water off the driveway ends up washing down into this section at the end of the driveway. Yeah, and as I said, I do want more of these to spread, because they're not too bad eating. When you boil them, they taste sort of like cabbage, or it's sort of pretty neutral. When you eat them raw, like if I was just to pick that and eat that, it tastes like mustard, and I mean it tastes almost exactly like mustard. Anyway, some other little one that I'm my sister's, there's some sort of a particular thing that was mentioned. I think I might have it here, but I've dug it all out. But I'm not going to talk about that because I don't want to give out any misinformation about a particular one that I may have or may not have. Here's the kitty. Oh yeah, all these are just about flaming ready to go, if not past it. I was going to show all this, I just couldn't be stuffed, to be honest. Rose hips. And they are edible, but you've got to get rid of the seeds inside. And they are bloody hard seeds. You don't want to get this stuck on your false teeth. There's a lot of the little black seed holder bits in there. And you should get out of the little hair bits. Oh. That one was beyond it. As I said, they're all a little bit too late, starting to shrivel up. I got some good ones along here the other year. It's like a mix between almost a carrot salsa flavour, like a carrot with a little bit of chilli or a little bit of that spicy salsa flavour. Yeah. Tried those about a month ago and they weren't ripe, and now they're flipping too far gone. So, but there's a lot of stuffing around. That's something you'd only really eat if you're really hard up. But that's just dog rose. You know, they got small rose hips on them, which are the red thing I just showed you. Some of the garden varieties have got massive rose hips on the things. And in Sweden they make some kind of a soup out of it. There's me gathering, by the way, or some of it. Anyway, Peruvian pepper tree. Same again. I've put the guard on that one. Same again. Good coffee mug, eh? Alrighty. Well, that's a pot that I usually use for boiling my eggs in. It never boiled dry, but for some reason the bottom seems to be a little bit warped. Like as though one half will sit one way and the other half will sit the other way. And it's taken me a damn long time to try and boil eggs. I didn't actually get them to even start simmering the day I had to go to an Easter function, even though I got up a few hours before I needed to go and had it firing up for quite a while there. And even the other day it took 2 hours to boil the eggs. And it's sort of one half will be contacting and the other half might just be like a mil above, and you can sort of just tilt it one way or the other, but only just a tiny little bit. It's, you know, not much at all, only about a mil difference. But for whatever reason, it's warped, even though I never boiled it dry. And, yeah, it just appears that it seems to be taking, you know, damn hour and a half, 2 hours to boil some eggs, which is just bloody bullshit. So these ones are... Little Massey decided to have a little pee-pee there and it all crystallised. I've got to wash all the lids on these. Fortunately, these had the lids on the whole time. They were washed before I got them. All the insides are nice and clean. But the lids had a few mouse poopies and stuff. So I've got to go and probably hydrogen peroxide wipes on the lids and then wash them properly after that. This is one of these bizarre assemblies where you got sort of like, you know, you can have 3 different things and it all sort of equals about a pot size there, and each of them has got a little hook in. He had a little bit of metal. He's lost his one. It sort of come from, my sister gave it to me, but my brother-in-law's father gave it to them, and they never used it and just sat it in the shed. And I think it was, I don't know when it was. It's been a while now actually that I've had this, but just had it sitting stored away, and seeing that we can probably use 2 of these at once and boil the required amount of eggs. I usually eat about 6 eggs a day. Then, yeah, we should be able to set the 2 of these on a hot plate and boil said eggs. The original pot that I've got that I've been using the eggs for is probably about the same size as a whole lot of these, but it's steel, and as I said, the bottom is warped, and the bottom itself has sort of like got a dip up piece in the middle, so I'm not sure the entire bottom was really touching it all along anyway. But with these, they're completely flat bottoms, plus aluminium, they heat up a lot quicker. And although I, don't like the idea of eating out of aluminium pots and all that due to aluminium salts being linked to Alzheimer's, boiling eggs isn't really a problem because they're still inside the shell. But yeah, brother-in-law's dad lost that thing and he made up a little metal doover, but I actually got one in my travels of my business where they didn't have any of the pots, but they did have the handle. So I'll go and dig that out because I'm pretty certain I know exactly where that is because I saw it during my clean-up. And I'm pretty certain it's either in one spot or just about 90% guaranteed in the other tub that I have all my spare kitchen stuff in, including a whole heap of wooden spoons that have never been used, and the cola thermometer, and little funnels and bits and pieces. The all-day kettle there. It's got a screw. See, that's the handle, a black handle on the back, and there's a screw hole right there. And that's just like an L-shaped handle that screws into the back. And I got it reasonably full, and that screw is up pretty damn high. It seems to be leaking water out of it. I've done it once or twice before. I've got the kettle on here for the purposes of basically being able to boil some water and do some dishes. Anyways, that last week or so I had to do this. It's alright if you just put a little bit in just to, boil a pot or a cup or two of coffee or tea or whatever you want to do. But I fill it right up, obviously, when I'm doing going to do the dishes, so I get enough damn hot water. But it's leaking out of there, and I tightened it last week, and it seemed to stop it. Well, probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, actually. Just before Easter, actually, I tightened it and seemed to stop it, and I've tightened it just again. I come in and there's steam going everywhere, and it just keeps cooling the bloody hot plate down with all this water just I don't know if you can. Little drip there, and steam going everywhere. Took it off, and then all the water dried off the hot plate, obviously, and I tightened it up and put it back on. It's still frickin' going. I knew it was an issue. That's why for what was it? Late last year, I asked for a kettle as a present from my parents because I knew this thing was on the way out. They said, "Oh, it's good if you can use it." And I said, "Well, actually, the other one's still going for now, but it does drip sometimes, but never used to drip like this. It'd be a drip every flipping minute, not one every damn half a second or a second." So I think it's time to just go back out to where I got the pots, where I also have my spare kettle, and we might be changing kettles in about 5 seconds flat.